This episode of the Inferno is presented by Pearl River Resort. Pearl River Resort is the perfect place to spend a game day weekend. With gaming, golf, dining, entertainment, and more, there's no better place to stay and play. The Inferno is the episode brought to you by Legacy Credit Union. Legacy Credit Union, the official credit union of UAB. Today's episode rundown is going to go like this. We're going to have a great show today on the Inferno. Of course, the UAB bye week, so college football will be back next week. Why would a coach leave the best job in the world? And Coach Andy Kennedy is on the show today. The Inferno's up next.
Trent Dilfer here, head football coach of the UAB Blazers. I want to tell you about my friends at Legacy Credit Union. Legacy began as University Credit Union in 1955 and remains committed to UAB faculty, students, alumni, and fans. Not only do they support the Birmingham community, but they are also proud sponsors of UAB and UAB athletics. Visit LegacyCreditUnion.com and find out why you should become a member today.
Welcome back to the Inferno. You can hear this podcast wherever you get your favorite podcast. It's available everywhere, including UABsports.com, and of course also on my network of podcasts, Tony Curry Radio. And we've got the man, the myth, the legend. He's here, and it means basketball season is right around the corner. I cannot believe we have exhibition hoops this Sunday. Andy Kennedy is in the studio, folks. Come on, you're not ready. Let's go. How you doing, brother?
I'm undefeated so far in the
you are undefeated.
24-25 season, so life is good.
I know a lot of UAB fans ready for the basketball season, and we're not only going to talk about some hoops, we're going to get ready for exhibition, but we're also going to find out more about you from a personal standpoint. I know a lot about you because I've been following you throughout your life. You came from my hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio, or you worked up there at least for a few years. So we're going to do a little question and answer thing with you towards the end of the show. And I also want to ask you about a coach who just gave up the best coaching job in all of college hoops. Some people would say that's UAB. In this particular case,
Who would say that?
In this particular case, I'm saying Kentucky. John Calipari, and I don't know how well you know John, but I want to ask him about that in our hot topic coming up here in just a few minutes. Last season, wow, conference championship. You won your 100th ball game. You have never won less than 22 games in the 4 years you've been at UAB. Your 4-year run is more games won than any other coach has ever been at UAB, including Gene Bartow. You've got a lot to grow on from next year. I mean, this year, you've got some big shoes to fill just based on what you did last year. And, of course, you made the big dance. And you've got so much great stuff coming back. Talk about it a little bit.
Well, first of all, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's been a long time since I've been in this studio. I remember the old days, the old Herb Winch's, Ben Cook. We were probably sitting at the same desk. Matt Coulter, I remember the old WJOX days.
I see Matt and Herbie still around up in Lake Lake.
In the 80s and 90s. Times have changed for sure. No, for us, expectations are welcomed. When I came here, we had talked about what were we trying to get accomplished? I'm a Bartow guy. I've got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this program as a player. I understood the lineage that is UAB basketball, a very, very proud history, and it was my charge to try to get our program back there as soon as possible. I get the job in March of 2020, and lo and behold, we go through a global pandemic. So I don't know if those two correlate at all, but the world changed pretty quickly after about a week of me being the head coach at UAB. So the first year was very, very bizarre. We were just trying to make sure that everybody was negative on their COVID test, and we were able to get to the arena, and we had officials and no fans. Very bizarre. Get through that year, and then in year two, we were able to take a huge step forward. Young man named Jelly Walker, also an anchor of our team, the future mayor of Birmingham, Trey Jemison, was there, and we had a magnificent run to get back to the NCAA tournament. We built off that in year three by getting to the program's first NIT championship game, won a program record 29 games, and really felt good about the momentum that was being built. Last year, we started the season 4-5. Mm-hmm. I remember that. We'd lost 3 in a row. It was mid-December. We were riding back from beautiful Jonesboro, Arkansas, after getting handed a double-digit loss, and there were a lot of hung heads, to say the least, on that bus. A lot of questions, very few answers, no identity. But to our guys' credit, they continued to work. We talk about stacking work, Tony. At the end of the day, the grind only respects one thing, and that's the work. So we continued to work. We started having some tangible results. There became a belief with that, then a trust, then a discipline to stay to our formula. It's all part of the process. And at the end of the day, we had the opportunity to do something that we felt we were capable of. And it was good to see it come to fruition by capturing the AAC tournament championship and getting our program back to the NCAA tournament for the second time in the last 3 years. It's the first time that's happened in UAB, believe it or not, since Mike Anderson was here in the early 2000s. And it's the first time that we've won 2 of the last 3 tournament championships since the late, great Gene Bartow did it in the early 80s.
Fantastic. It's always great when you have players who come back because obviously that can grow your fan base. And Gaines come back last year. He's now gone. This Lindenborg kid is unbelievable. What he's done, 19 double-doubles, 370 boards last year, Defensive Player of the Year. Just talk about how important Yaxel is to your basketball team. Then I want to talk about some of your transfers because you got guys coming from North Carolina. You got a St. Louis kid. You got a kid that played at Georgia Tech and LSU you want to talk about too. But talk about Yaxel a little bit and just how important he is, not only from a points and leadership standpoint, but just the boards. Then the Defensive Player of the Year. You just don't have that a whole lot in college hoops. That's always a great thing to start a basketball team with.
Well, just so for our fans' knowledge, we operate with 13 scholarship players. So last year we replaced 9 of the 13. Now I've got a UAB degree in history, so I can't do that math for you, 9 out of 13, but we replaced a large percentage of our team last year. We lost about 85% of our production off the previous year, in which we just said had won 29 games. So we were really trying to find ourselves early. This year, we only replaced 6 of our 13, and we returned 5 of our top 7, led by Yaxel Lindenborg. Yaxel came in and really struggled early. Hadn't found himself, didn't know if he could do it at this level. You've got to remember, Tony, he only played 11 games of high school basketball. Wow. This is only his 5th year of organized basketball.
That's amazing.
The improvements that I've seen since he came to be a part of our program June of last year. So you're talking under a year and a half. The improvements have been exponential, to say the least. This kid is a fantastic player. So for the first 7 or 8 games, he was not playing to his expectation. He then ended up, as you said, breaking the rebounding, all-time season rebounding record held by the future mayor, Trey Jemison. He also broke the most double-doubles in UAB history at 19, and he shattered the AAC, our first year in the league. He shattered the AAC rebounding record. And he did this, we played 35 games, but I bet he only showed up at about 26 of them. Those first 7 or 8, it was really shaky. So he did all that in 26 games. Pretty phenomenal. In multiple games of over 20 rebounds. And he's really improved. I think you're going to see a better version of a guy that was first-team All-League last year. He's a preseason All-American. He's a preseason Player of the Year in our league. And I say all that to say tremendous kid, tremendous player, and a great ambassador for our program.
This week in Blazer Athletics, of course, brought to you by Viva Health and Pepsi. Talk a little bit about Bradley Ezerro. Played at LSU, played at Georgetown. He's got a lot of spice, a lot of, what do you want to call it? A lot of character, a lot of different things.
He's a little bit of a jambalaya. He started out, he is a young man, Nigerian descent, born in California, played at LSU under Will Wade right at the end when that thing was kind of going off the rails. He then transferred and played for the great Pat Ewing at Georgetown. He then goes and plays for Travis Ford at St. Louis. So now he's with me. The 3 previous head coaches have all been fired. So I said, when he came in on his visit, I said, hey, you were not trying to go for the hat trick here, are we? So he's had a really diverse background to bring him to this point. 6'9", 265 pounds, really athletic, kind of a gentle giant. I'm trying to, when you look at him, he looks like a raging bull, but he's really a gentle giant. And I'm trying to pull out some aggressiveness out of him. Javion Davis, who anchored us last year at the 5 spot, has gone, and so there's a void there that needs to be filled, and Brad's got a big chance to step up and make a huge impact on this year's team.
So excited to have you in the Inferno, and we obviously love Trent Dilfer, love talking college football too, but I'm just a huge basketball fan, so I just want to ask you about a couple more other players, and we'll get into the exhibition play. Will Shaver, transfer from, anytime you see a transfer from North Carolina, it's good.
Local product, Oak Mountain. great family. Came back here on the bounce back. Last year was really his first year of being healthy. He was not healthy until about December. So he was playing behind the 8 ball, playing behind a front line that was a little more experienced. And this year he's going to have an opportunity because I think for the first time in his career since going to North Carolina, he's fully healthy, big, versatile. It's just a matter of garnering experience for him to gain the confidence. What is confidence? Confidence is demonstrated ability. And he hasn't played a lot of college basketball over the last 2 or 3 years. So early season reps are very important for his development.
Christian Coleman, give me a little about him as well.
Chris Coleman had a tremendous finish to his junior year. Junior college kid, again, had to figure it out. This guy was, 2 years ago, was working at Walmart. Now, all of a sudden, I'm starting him against Memphis in the Forum in front of 14,000 people. So, yeah, a little bit of a change there in dynamic. A kid that has taken huge strides in the offseason as it relates to hopefully being the consistent performer that we need.
UAB Blazers football, they get the bye week this week, and we have Andy Kennedy. Of course, every single week we either have Trent Dilfer or Andy Kennedy in here in the Inferno. I'm Tony Curry. Western Kentucky exhibition going on this Sunday in Bowling Green. Whenever I think of Bowling Green, I think of White Castles. It's the first. Wow. It's the first exit where you can get White Castles at Bowling Green before you get to.
You're a trivia guy. You're a very knowledgeable guy about a lot of things. Rumor has it. I will say this. I'm
and the Corvette Museum too, by the way.
I've been to both, by the way. Maybe in the same night. When I don't sleep very much. I don't know about you, but when you get my age, I'm not a great sleeper. So I'll get in and watch these obscure things, or I'll go down a rabbit hole on Twitter. And did you realize that White Castle is the oldest burger franchise in America? Who would have thought that? I would have never thought that.
Isn't that amazing? I think it was 1919, maybe.
I don't know. You would know that better than I. But I know that there was one close to my house in Cincinnati. We talked about that. I lived in Cincinnati 5 years. Shout out to the Bearcats. I know you're a Muskie. Sorry about that. But I've got really good friends that are Muskies. Chris
it's a great
Max,
basketball town.
Yeah, it's great, and it's a great rivalry. But I had a White Castle pretty close to my house, which worked out for me on a number of occasions.
I will say this, and if I still lived there, I think I'd weigh 300 pounds.
But Crystal, you got Crystal here. It doesn't. It's not.
No,
you feel like you're cheating
for sake
if you
of
go
advertise, we'll take Crystal's money if they want to get on the show.
When you go to Crystal's, you feel like you're cheating on White Castle.
Well, it's just not the same thing.
Okay,
it's just a little more bread and not enough onions. I just it's just what it is. But yeah, we've all got a good story about White Castle for sure. And it's open 24 hours a day. So there you have it. Great stuff there, of course. Today's Coach's Corner brought to you by Viva Health and Pepsi. I want to get into our hot topic here before we do that, and we'll also give you some rather ands. I want to get a couple of questions. Well, let's do that right off the bat. Again, talk about the exhibition game. You got it going on Sunday. And then, of course, you're going to be taking on Vermont down at Bartow Arena coming up on November 4th. But just talk about the exhibition game. What are you looking to extend yourself? What are you looking to get done? What do you want to see from your basketball team? Do you have a pretty good idea of how it's going to go?
No,
okay.
no.
No.
Again, just to clarify, this is the first year that we are allowed to play. You've always been, in the last few years, you've been allowed to play, quote unquote, a secret scrimmage, meaning you and I are playing in your place or my place. Fans are not allowed to be there. We're not supposed to publicize it. It's basically a glorified practice against somebody else, like the NFL does when the two teams come together and they do controlled possessions, just to see a different look. Well, we did that against Vanderbilt. I'm not even sure how much you can talk about it, but there is no such thing as secret anymore. So we went to Nashville and we played Vanderbilt in a setup such as that. We had about 4 different segments, some controlled, some more like a game. And my objective is twofold. Number one, I want us to leave healthy and whole. Number two, I want us to garner much needed experience, especially out of the guys who didn't play much in the past and new guys to our situation. And you want to put them in difficult situations to see if they can figure out how to maneuver through it, because that's basketball.
Yeah, there are Twitter accounts out there. I was looking this morning that they're giving all these scores of all these secret games. Why is it a secret? What's the deal?
The infinite wisdom of the NCAA. I'm not sure, but usually you can do one of those, or you can do 2 of those, and then you can have an open forum, which we've chosen to do in the past with a non-Division I opponent.
Yeah.
So typically we would do a secret scrimmage and then we would play somebody, but they couldn't be Division I until this year. This year, they allow you to play another Division I opponent as long as there is a charity aspect to it.
There you go. Okay.
So we're actually going to Bowling Green this Sunday for a charitable cause, and we're playing the Hilltoppers, and there'll be some fans there. Obviously, you know, Western Kentucky, great basketball history. They'll be excited about it. Huge rivalry between the two programs for many, many years. So we're looking forward to that, because I think also when you put the uniform on and you play in front of fans, you create another dynamic that you want to see how your kids respond to. So that's the next thing for us. Obviously, you want to win the game.
Sure.
And I always go into it. I don't really like these things because my mind is not really about winning the game. It's about making sure everybody gets equal minutes, which is maddening to a guy that's not great in math, as I proved earlier with my 9 for 13 equation. But my focus isn't really where I want it to be as a coach, and it's maddening to me. And every time I go in, I'm like, it really doesn't matter who wins. Let's just make sure, let's get Johnny and Sally and Timmy and make sure everybody gets a participation trophy so they can all, I got film on all of them. And then about 5 minutes in the game, I'm like, the hell with that, I want to win. You know, I mean, then the juices get going, so you're just trying to balance the two things. Certainly you want to win, but the most important thing is to garner some experience out of guys that I'm not real comfortable with now because I just haven't coached them yet.
Reigning conference champions, the UAB Blazers, and of course they also went to the Big Dance last year. He has never won less than 22 games in the last 4 years, the most games ever won by any coach at UAB. Andy Kennedy joins us here on the Inferno. Trent Dilfer, of course, has been on with the last 4 or 5 weeks. He'll join us again coming up here next week. I want to get your thoughts on John Calipari. I've got a really close friend of mine. I would almost consider him a brother from a different mother. He's a huge Kentucky fan. I lived in Louisville for 3 years, so I know how that works. He had won a championship in 12 years. I've always been like, you know, how can you hire a John? And listen, I'm not saying John Calipari is already in the Hall of Fame. I know he's a great coach. But Kentucky should, for me, just like Alabama football here, they should be in the playoffs every single year. Kentucky should be in a Sweet 16, at least a Sweet 16 or an Elite every single year. I don't know if the one and dones stopped working for him, but 12 years in between championships just doesn't fly in Kentucky. And all of a sudden he leaves. A lot of people would say that is probably, you know, you get your blue bloods, the UCLAs, you get some. And then he goes to Arkansas. Can you talk a little bit about that? I don't know how well you know John. Why did he move? Was it the expectations? I know Kentucky fans that are friends of mine aren't happy with him. If he had retired, they probably would have been okay with it. But the fact that he went to another SEC school, they had a major issue with it. Could you talk about it just a little bit?
Yeah, I know Cal really well. I consider him a friend. And I'll tell you this, I think the way that it ended was perfect for all parties. Let's be honest, and John knows this. Kentucky was looking for an exit strategy. They owed him $1 gazillion. And I was at Ole Miss for 12 years, and I don't know if it was on there or not. We did not win the national championship when I was there in my 12 years. We had success, but if you're not winning national championships or going to Sweet 16s, Elite Eights, especially at a Kentucky, they only hang one banner, and that's the big one. They're not hanging conference championships. They're not celebrating getting to the NCAA tournament like you do at an Ole Miss. It's national championship or bust, very similar to our friends just up the road in a different shaped ball, even though Nate Oates is changing that a little bit as well as it relates to expectation. But Cal, the shelf life just ended. You know, it's not here, there, or the other. After a while, appetite for change becomes apparent. Yeah. And once that creeps into the room, it's there. And I think Cal was smart enough to know that if given an opportunity to go to a place that he felt he could compete on a national stage, which he certainly can at Arkansas, it was a perfect segue, I think, for all parties. So excited about Kentucky. So much respect, man. It's the only place in the SEC, me and many people, I've never won at Kentucky. We had an opportunity twice. I had a ball in the air down to a 3 to win it. Back rim, and then the team that went to the Final Four, the 38-0 team that Wisconsin beat in the Final Four, probably his best. I had him down. We lost that game in double overtime. So I had 2 opportunities in Rupp to capture a win. Never was able to do it. So much respect for that fan base. My goodness.
They get after it now.
Man, they love it. They are very, very, very passionate about it. And the second best fan base, in my opinion, as it relates to basketball in the SEC, Cal is going to in Arkansas, another group that loves their hoops. So I think it's going to be must-see TV, and I'm proud for both. I'm proud for Mark Pope, who I know. I think he's going to bring a completely different approach to Kentucky basketball. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And it'll all be great until you lose that first one. Mm-hmm. Again, that's just how it works in our world.
How well do we know Andy Kennedy? I think I know you pretty well. I've done some research, but I want to do a little rather and. I want to throw a couple questions at you. You tell me which side you like, and
sure.
We'll do a couple sports. We'll do that coming up here next. And of course, again, the Hot Topic Coach's Corner. Everything brought to you by Aviva Health and Pepsi. The Inferno up next.
The if in life. It's a world of possibilities. If you go for a night out with friends, if you can keep an eye on your money along the way, if you know you have overdraft protection with no fee transfers from savings, when you get a low balance alert, it's easier to say yes to fun. If that sounds good, try Regions Life Banking.
Stay ready for the if in life. Regions Bank embrace the if in life.
Welcome back to the Inferno. I'm Tony Curry, head coach of the UAB Blazers. Andy Kennedy getting ready for exhibition play coming up on Sunday, and then a Vermont coming up on November 4th.
November 4th. We need to.
I know, right?
You know, this is not a late minute city. We got to get to work. I don't know. I don't know. Here's what I do know. They've been to the last 3 NCAA tournaments and 8 of the last 9. When you put Vermont up on the schedule, again, the casual fan.
Yeah.
Which I know people around here are worried about other things as it relates to a different shaped ball right now, and in all specters of our state. But Vermont is a team that is very, very dangerous, and there's not many people that are foolish enough to schedule them in the home opener, other than yours truly. And I did that because number one, limited options. Not a lot of people really want to play the Blazers right now. I'm not getting a lot of return phone calls.
That's a good thing, yeah.
And number two, Vermont's also a team that not a lot of people want to play them. So we were able to make it work. Dangerous, challenging, and we certainly need Bartow Arena packed.
Do you have a photogenic? Are you photogenic? Can you? I'm amazed because I listen to your post games. I love the way you speak. I love. I think you're very eloquent, but you're to the point. And I love you with David Crane and those guys. But you remember stuff that I don't even remember from the game. Like, yeah, he was 3 of 18. That's 18.3%. Blah 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 blah. And you're throwing numbers, and you're doing it like 3 minutes after the game is over.
Well,
do you have a great statistician, or do you just remember these things?
No, I kind of remember the things that are important to me. Isn't that funny? That's what my wife says as well. I mean,
amazing.
What's important to me, I'm really focused in on. When I leave this parking lot to get back to my office, I'll have to GPS it. I don't remember that, so I'm not really locked into that. Even though I've lived in Birmingham over 20 years, but I do think about these things. I can kind of tell you strategically what's important to us as it relates to wins and losses.
All right, final thoughts. Just going to throw some either ors at you. Last concert you saw?
Oh, Chris Stapleton, about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Legacy Arena.
What is one concert you've been to that you would not want people to know you went to?
You know what? I haven't been to many concerts, honestly.
Seen the Barry Manilow?
No, Billy Joel, but that was a long time ago. And my mom and dad took me, so you really can't count that against me. A Free Will concert that I would be ashamed for people to think that I went to. I really don't have one. I don't do that.
Yeah. Any guilty pleasures? You listen to ABBA in the car on the way in? Anything like that?
No. I got a lot.
I mean, I heard an Air Supply song.
I got a lot of guilty pleasures. Has nothing to do with ABBA. I assure you.
I heard an Air Supply tune the other day, and sometimes, it was like, it's so bad, it's good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like,
yeah, no.
And you're looking at me like I'm crazy. Skyline or Gold Star?
Oh, Skyline.
Yeah, there was a 2 guys that opened a Gold Star Chili down here the first year.
No way that worked.
1989. I ate there 3 times a day just because it was the closest thing to Skyline, and I did not want to see. It was over in Inverness Corner, so I did not want to see them close. I ate there every single day for like 3 months. And these 2 guys, it was kind of like the Soup Nazis. They argued. Yeah. They yelled at each other, and I'm like, dude, we're in the South, man. We're friendly. We're hospitable. You can't be yelling back and forth in the kitchen. And then they started.
Well, you can't be yelling, and as soon as you put that tomato sauce and the chili on the noodles, people are looking for Milos. And they think Milos is normal. What is that on that burger? I still haven't figured that out.
Yankees, Dodgers, which one?
I don't care. I'm anti-Yankees, so I'm pulling for the Dodgers. I grew up a Reds fan, again, since that. This is so ironic. back to our Cincinnati story. I grew up 68, born in 68, 56 years old. So when you're about 7, 8 years old, early 70s, we really didn't have a baseball team in small town Mississippi. So what do? You pull for the team that's good, Big Red Machine. So I grew up Big Red Machine, Big Red Machine. Then I lived in Cincinnati for 5 years, worked for Bob Huggins, obviously a local legend there. Had an opportunity, Pete Rose, R.I.P., had an opportunity to have beers with Pete Rose.
How well did you know Pete?
Not great, but I knew him well enough. I mean, the time we've spent here today, if you spent that with Pete Rose, you're lifelong friends. In his eyes and yours.
Yep.
That's just who he is. So I had an opportunity to hang with Joe Morgan, my all-time favorite player. I got an opportunity to meet him. Dave Concepcion. Actually stayed in the Vernon Manor, lived in the Vernon Manor in my transition with Dave Johnson, who was the manager of the Reds at the time. He was right down the hall. So it was so funny. It was so funny. I grew up a huge Reds fan, and there I am living amongst the Reds.
Little doggy at first base. You had Cesar Geronimo, George Foster, Griffey Sr., of course, Johnny Bench. Who I've got a relationship with
Tom
Johnny Bench.
Tom Seaver, maybe the most underrated pitcher.
Don Gullett. I mean, we go on and on and on, man. Great stuff. And yeah, sorry to see Pete go, but I've said this before. That's the only way he's going to get in the Hall of Fame. They were not going to give it to him while he was alive. He will get in posthumously. They will finally turn around and say, listen, it's time to put Pete in, but it'll be a couple years down the road. MJ or LeBron, and why?
Oh, it's not close, MJ.
Really? Why?
It's not close. I think he's the greatest competitor ever. I will say this. I think that LeBron is probably the most physically imposing, powerful athlete of all time. I think physically, LeBron.
And Michael was not imposing from a physical standpoint.
Well, he was a phenomenal athlete, but he was 6'6", 200 pounds, 205. Was really into weight training and year-round fitness before it was in vogue, and he was just a killer. He had an incredible ability to make plays when plays needed to be made on both ends of the court. I got to know him through my friend Charles Barkley when he was playing for the Barons. Used to hang out down at AJ's, and this guy was something now.
Yeah, he was.
The only thing that he was afraid of was a good night's sleep.
So what would it take? Again, I'm 58 years old, so I saw MJ, and
what would it take for LeBron to pass him?
What would it take? Just championships? Nothing. Nothing.
No, I think the ship has sailed. Okay. I think Tom Brady is the GOAT as it relates to football. I think Mahomes could catch him. I do. I mean, he's got a tall task. Health being the number one reason.
16 of 26 the night, and they won the ball game by 10. He had 2 picks and 0 touchdowns. They still won.
He hasn't played great yet, but they're winning, and he will play great when they need him to, which should be scary for the rest of the league.
Yeah.
But Mahomes could catch Brady. I just don't. Again, I love LeBron, but MJ to me is he's at the different level.
You a Bengals fan?
Not really. I hate to say that. I love Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis was there when I was there. I met Marvin. I grew up a Steeler fan.
Yeah.
Same reason. Yeah. Steel curtain, mid-'70s, so I grew up a Steeler fan. Actually, through Mike Tomlin and through some people, hugs, blah, blah, blah. I had beers with Terry Bradshaw one time. That was a great night as well. So I've had some real bucket list things that have occurred in my life. Very fortunate. When I was there, Carson Palmer was the quarterback. When I was there, Chad Ochocinco used to come play pickup basketball with our guys all the time. Loved it. We'd play out there, and I'm like, I'm not sure you're supposed to be out here. Like on a Friday, and they're playing a game on Sunday.
He's great. Yeah.
He's incredibly fast, and he's thin though, real thin. So you just worry about him getting hurt. And then Kitna. John Kitna came right after Carson Palmer when I was still in Cincinnati.
And now his son's playing down at UAB. As a Bengals fan, I'm just and I can't believe they won in Cleveland tonight because Joe Burrow was, I think, 0-5 against the spread or something like that. I heard, and they just can't beat Cleveland. Certainly not in Cleveland, but they got it off their backs this past time. But just from a professional standpoint, man, it's just like they've been to 3 Super Bowls, and every one of them. I would say 3 of the best Super Bowls ever in the National Football League were the 2 that Cincinnati had with San Francisco, and of course the one they had with the Rams. But they just can't get it done. So anyway, finally, I had someone ask Andy if he's a big Christmas fan. I don't know anyone that's not a Christmas fan. It seems like
that was a weird question.
I know, it really was.
There's a lot
of all the times. I think it's because I just left Home Depot this past weekend. They've already got their Christmas stuff up. It's coming earlier and earlier and earlier. And if you're not celebrating before Halloween, which is still 10 days away. But yeah, for some reason they were like, ask Andy if he's a big Christmas fan. I was like, okay.
Do I look like that big of an asshole? Of course I'm a. I mean, am I?
I mean, are you? I guess she wanted to know.
Do I look that angry?
Are you a 10? Are you a 10 Christmas tree guy? I mean, do you go all out with the lights?
No, I don't. I just don't. Think about the coach, the life of a basketball coach. I really picked the wrong sport because it just crosses every season. So
yeah.
All right, Thanksgiving we're playing. We're either going to play day of, day after, day before, so you're in the grind, right? Christmas, hey, man, it depends on – my Christmas will depend on how we did the game before. Mm-hmm. You have a little break. New Year's, we're playing or traveling, or spring break, we're playing. So you just miss all the stuff. Even in the summers now with the portal, it never stops. You don't get a big break. Love Christmas. We'll get into the spirit. I don't have small kids around anymore, and I don't have grandchildren, so it's changed. The vibe's changed a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, big Christmas guy.
All right, her name's Terry. She's a friend of mine. There you go, Terry. Ask the question. Keep the questions coming. info@TonyCurryRadio.com. You can also, of course, go to UABsports.com. I think there's a little chat area there. You can go to the bottom of the page and you can set some questions up, and we'll certainly ask Andy about those in following episodes of the Inferno. Nice job, man. It's good catching up with you. We'll do it again. And don't forget that exhibition game coming up this Sunday against Western Kentucky. Go support your Blazers. And then Vermont, the home game, November 4th, man. Get down there and blow the doors off.
No, we need you. We're going to need you. We don't want to play Vermont in a spelling contest, but hopefully we can get up and down the floor.
There is absolutely no reason, even if you're just a plain basketball fan, period, there's no reason not to go down and check out. It's just a great brand of basketball. It's fun. It's
and I'll say this, because I'm a realist. I understand sometimes people are thinking about, well, man, it'd be too inconvenient. A lot of that construction around the arena is gone now. There is parking. It's easy to get. It's easy to get in and out. Affordable ticket, quality product. Come give us a shot.
Check it out. This is the Inferno. This episode of the Inferno is presented by Pearl River Resort. Call an early weekend and head over to Pearl River Resort, where it's always no work and all play at Silverstar, Golden Moon, and Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. And be sure to catch the big game excitement at Timeout Lounge.